بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ونبيك محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making it possible for us to be here today, particularly for preserving our life upon goodness, which is Al-Islam. We beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to make us deviate from the right path. I bear witness that there's nobody worthy of worship in truth except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I bear witness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that sent the messenger of Allah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his revelation. We seek for the peace and benediction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the noble soul of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his pure households, his companions, and all Muslims in the day of reckoning. Our dear viewers, we greet you with the greeting of Islam, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we want to look at an important aspect of our society today. We know that a society is not formed but from the family. The family is the unit of the society. And when we talk of family, we are talking about a man and a woman that have legally come together to become husband and wife. Legally, that means from the Sharia point of view, they are not just cohabiting, but rather they have decided to live together as husband and wife in accordance with the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when they meet, it is expected that they are going to have offsprings. But sometimes it does happen that after giving birth to these offsprings, maybe 1, 2, or 3 or more, the mother can't leave the world. She dies. Sometimes it's the father. Then what is the status of such children that are left behind by their father? What is the provision of Islam concerning taking care of them? Who takes up the responsibility of teaching these children, spending on them and guiding them? We are not left in the dark by the Sharia. The Sharia talks extensively about the orphan. In Islam, when we say orphan, alladhi qad mata waliduhu, the one who has lost his father when he or she is underaged. If somebody is not an underage, then the person is not an orphan. For example, a matured man who is of age maybe 27, for example, lost his father, the Sharia does not see that person as an orphan. But when you are a child, the Sharia sees the person as an orphan. If you look at the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, which is Surah 4 of the Quran, Allah talked about the orphans in the second ayah. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من همزه ونفخه ونفثه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Allah said, وَآتُوا الْيَتَامَى أَمْوَالَهُمْ, give to the orphans their property. وَلَا تَتَبَدَّلُوا الْخَبِيثَ بِالطَّيِّبِ, and do not exchange your own property for their own property. That means your own property that is bad, do not exchange it for theirs that are good. Allah now says, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَهُمْ إِلَىٰ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. Not only that, do not defer their own property by adding it to your property. Okay? إِنَّهُ كَانَ حُبًّا كَبِيرًا. Surely doing such is a great sin. In the second ayah of the Quran, Allah talk about the orphan. If we move forward, in ayah 5, Allah also talk, and 6 of this surah 4, Allah also mentioned, وَلَا تُؤْتُوا السُّفَهَاءَ أَمْوَالَكُمُ الَّتِي جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ قِيَامًا. Though there are many, according to the Quran exegetes, this ayah has many implications, but the one that is in connection with what we are discussing, Allah said, do not give to the foolish one your property, the property which Allah has made a means of support for you. وَارْزُقُوهُمْ فِيهَا, rather you feed them from that property. وَاكْسُوهُمْ, and also you clothe them. وَقُولُوا لَهُمْ قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا, is word of kindness and word of justice is the one that you are going to utter to them. In the 6th ayah, Allah said, وَآتُوا الْيَتَامَى, Allah said, وَابْتَلُوا الْيَتَامَى, try the orphan, hatta idha balagun nikah, until they reach the age of marriage. Fa'in anestum fihim rushda, if you now observe that they have sound judgment, fadfa'u ilayhim amwalahum, then release to them their property, wala ta'kuluha israfan wa bidara, but do not consume this property israfan, wastefully, wa bidaron, and hastily. Subhanallah, ayn yakbaru, because you are fearing that this property will grow. Allah now said, وَمَنْ كَانَ غَنِيًّا فَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ, if you are rich, you are not poor, do not take from the property of the orphan. وَمَنْ كَانَ فَقِيرًا, but if you are poor, فَلْيَأْكُلْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, you can take from it in equitable manner. فَإِذَا دَفَعْتُمْ إِلَيْهِمْ أَمْوَالَهُمْ, when you want to return back their property to them, فَاشْهِدُوا عَلَيْهِمْ, do not give them in private, but rather call witness to it. Let there be witness. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا, Allah is sufficient in taking account. These ayah are instructive for us in an aspect. That means orphans whose parent that has died, the father, has property. You are in the custody of the property of the orphan by virtue of being his uncle, that is the uncle of the orphan, or his cousin, or whatever. Even the friend of the father, maybe family friend. One way or the other, the property is in your control. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now addressing you that what you are supposed to do is to give them their property. Then, I am now saying that if these children are still young, they cannot differentiate between right and wrong, or they are not yet mature such that they can manage that property. Allah said you should not give it to them, but rather you give them their needs, which is food, you give it to them. Clothing, you give it to them. Then how do you know that these orphans are now mature enough to be given their property? That is what Allah said. وَبَتَالُوا الْيَتَامَى, that is in ayah 6. Try them, put them to trial, حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغُوا النِّكَاحَ, until they be. You continue to try them until they are ready for marriage. It is known that anybody who wants to get married as a man must have acquired some minimum wisdom to manage his or her own life. So, but there are some people today, they are wicked. They know these children or this child are not yet matured to manage the property. But people don't know. So they will now release the property to them. People will now be praising them. This man is truthful. This man is honest. He has given the property to the owner, the orphans. But he knows that they are going to misuse the property. They are going to mismanage it. In no time, they will become poor. And that is what he wants. So you try them. You can ask them. Maybe the property is much. If you are given 100 million naira, what do you do with it? You can tell him, the first thing I will do is I'm going to buy a car. I saw a car online. The car is 85 million naira. Then I will travel to maybe mention one place, and I'm going to spend 1 month there, enjoy myself. Then you know that this child is not yet mature to manage the property. But if you ask him, if you give you 100 million, what do you do? He said, I will sit down. I will take 10% of the money or 5% and give it as sadaqah. I will pray to Allah to guide me how to manage this property, and I will use 5% of it or 10% of it as sadaqah, which is 10 million or 5 million. Then I will sit down. Then look at what can I do with the money. I will not rush. I consult this, I consult. Then you know that this is getting matured. If it is a company that their father has or an industry, you get him engaged at managerial level. But doesn't go to managerial level. You start with being even a foreman so that he can get the picture of what transpires in that industry or company. That's what Allah is saying. So if he has patience to have passed through this training until he gets to managerial level, even if he's a graduate, then you know if you hand over this property to him, then you know that the person will handle it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something that is very instructive here. Allah said, وَمَنْ كَانَ غَنِيًّا فَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ. From the property of the orphans, you that you are managing it for the orphan, you have the liberty. Allah has given you the opportunity to take from that property. How? The one that is commensurate to your effort at managing the property. For example, if it's a farmland, in the farm, you are the one, you have to apply chemicals. The money you will use in buying the chemical, the effort you made, if you had sent somebody, not yourself, how much would that person have collected? The person that will be looking after it, what is the remuneration? Then Allah said you can take it if you are not rich. وَمَنْ كَانَ غَنِيًّا. But if you are rich, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَمَنْ كَانَ فَقِيرًا فَلْيَأْكُلْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. If you are poor, you can take from it, what I've mentioned. وَلَكِنْ وَمَنْ كَانَ غَنِيًّا فَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ. If you are not poor, you don't need to collect those things. You don't need to collect it. And that one will lead me to the next one, if time permits me, inshallah ta'ala. That is our responsibility generally towards the orphan, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has used as tergib, things that we make us to want to take care of the orphan. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now said, when you want to give to the orphan their property, don't just give it to them. What did Allah say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, إِذَا دَفَعْتُمْ إِلَيْهِمْ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فَأَشْهِدُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. Call to witness. Call lawyers. Not just anybody. Let them sign that I, so and so have collected so property, and it was handed over to me. Do not say, it's a son of mine. Because if anything happens, peradventure in future, he might deny it. Let there be documents. Let them take the picture of the document. Let them take him as he was signed. Let the document be there. Let it be stamped. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is sufficient in taking account. So from this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us the management of the property of the orphans. Number one, do not devour the property, but rather manage the property for them. There is an ayah there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوهَا إِسْرَافًا وَبِدَارًا. Do not spend the property in such a way that it's going to be israf. When we talk about israf, that means you are spendthrift. Or bidara, or quickly, and yakbaru, so that it not grow. People in management knows what to do. For example, you are supposed to have 10 clerks, then you have employed 25 clerks. By the time they collect their salary and you know the production, so you are trying to spend thrift, you are trying to waste the property, or you quickly spend it so that it will not grow. By the time these children now are mature, they will discover that there's nothing they can meet. But they have seen you managing it. People will be praising you. Then people say, that is Allah's decree. Whereas you know in your mind that it's not. You are the one that has caused it that way. You understand? So it's instructive. So 2, Allah said, you maintain the property without wasting the property, and do not devour it in such a way so that it will not grow. That means in some cases, money in terms of cash, there are some people, when they die, they have young children, maybe let's say about 500 million naira. Some people say, fix it in the bank. No. In the Sharia, you don't fix it. What you do is, you manage it so that it grows. By the time the child becomes matured, it might have become billions, and the child is the owner. So, then you pay zakat from the money. Because in accordance with, accordance with the scholars in fiqh, zakah, is it wajib or is it haq? Is it something that is compulsory or a right? Many of the scholars have said zakah is a right, which means a child can pay zakat and an insane person can pay zakat. How do they pay? Somebody will pay it on their behalf. So when you fix the money, that's where I'm going, and you start paying zakat without the money working, you see that the zakat will be eating up the property such that the value will be decreasing little by little. I think that is what I want to take as far as that one is concerned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may we beseech him that he guide us. For a Muslim, taking care of orphan is very important. You see, what we called kafalatul yatim, taking care of the orphan. When we say you are taking care of orphan, laysat fi kafalati madiyan, we are not talking about just maybe giving them this or dashing something else. We are talking about taking care of the orphan. Yani looking at the affair of the orphan in totality. Min tarbiyatin wa ta'limin wa tawjihin wa nassin wa qiyam bima yahtajuhu min hajati tata'allaqu bi hayati shakhsiyah. We are talking about taking care of the orphan in terms of his education, in terms of education of the orphan, in terms of his guidance, in terms of moral upbringing, in terms of looking at issues that surround the orphan, generally the way you are going to take care of your own child. When at the beginning I mentioned the society, you discover that many of the children or many of those rogues we find around on the street or street urchins, and many of them or some of them, that is an area of research we people can do statistically to determine the percentage of the orphans among those people who are in shanty towns. And you discover that many of them are orphans because they don't have somebody that will take care of them in terms of education, in terms of guidance, in terms of counseling. So if you want to take care of orphans in Islam, you take care of them like your children by placing them within your own children. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kafilul yatimi lahu aw li ghayrihi anna wa huwa kai ayhatayn fil jannah." The one who takes care of the orphan, I and such a person are like this in paradise. Wa ashara bi sababi wal wusta. The Messenger of Allah demonstrated this with his sababi, this index finger, wal wusta, and the middle finger. Then he separated them. That is why the scholar have said that the difference between The one who takes care of the orphan and the messenger of Allah in paradise is just like the difference between the distance between the middle finger and the index finger. That's what the scholars are saying. Because the messenger of Allah said, Ka'ahatayni fil Jannah. In the hadith, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have mentioned that it is important for us to take care of the orphan if we want to be at the highest part of paradise. Because we are with the messenger of Allah be the highest part of the paradise. In hadith of the messenger of Allah that was related by Abu Ya'la and Tabrani and Ahmed, related by Sahih Targhib wa Tarhib, the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Man damma yatiman bayna muslimina fi ta'amihi wa sharabihi hatta yastagna anhu wajabat lahu al-jannah. He who damma al-yatim, not only take care of the orphan, but you place the orphan within the community of the Muslims, within your own house, in terms of feeding, in terms of drinking, until the orphan becomes mature and able to survive by himself, then paradise has become incumbent for such a person. The messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, somebody came to him. Yashku, the person was complaining to the messenger of Allah. What was he complaining? He was complaining of that his heart is always hardened. The heart is always hardened. The messenger of Allah said, Atuhibbu an yalina qalbuk? Do you want your heart to become softened? And you want to be able to fulfill your need? Then the messenger of Allah said, Irhamul yatima wamsa rasa'u wa ta'imu'u min ta'amika. What you will need to do is be merciful to the orphan. Pat him on his head. Feed him from your own food. You will discover that your heart will no more be hardened to become softened, and you are going to be able to fulfill your own needs. So many of us today, we are complaining we don't have money. We want to go and be taking care of the orphans. If you are poor, Allah mentioned in La Uqsimu bihadha al-balad, Surah al-Balad. Allah said, Fala qatahamal aqaba. You cannot rush to climb the hill. Wama adraka mal aqaba. What is that hill? Fakku raqaba is to free a slave. Fakku raqaba. Then Allah mentioned how it'amu fi yawmin di masgaba, to feed people when there is hunger. Yatiman da maqraba. That's where I'm going. A closely related orphan. So some people today, they will go and donate to orphanage 100 million, 500 million, 1 billion on radio, on television. We'll hear their name. Some of them are doing it because they want tax reduction from government, not because of Allah. Allah said, Yatiman da maqraba. Your own brother is children that has died. Your own uncle, your family, your relative. Go back to your roots and discover the orphans there. Bring them among your own children. Let them attend the international schools your children are attending. Not that I've sent 20,000 to him. No, that's not taking care of her in Islam. Bring him to the standard of your own children. You want your own children to read professional courses, but you have allowed this one not to read any course. The same professional courses you want your children to read is the one the orphan will read. And Allah said, Da makuroba, it should be your close relative. If any one of us look back now in our family, you will remember a man died about 5 years ago with children. Where are the children today? You can't locate them. They are all over the places. Some of them are involved in thuggery. Some of them are street urchins. Some of them are living in shanty towns. Some of them are even become insane as a result of maybe they are consuming alcohol, maybe as a result of the fact that they are smoking weed and some other things because of no care. So that is what Allah told him. The messenger of Allah told the person. So if you want to even be rich, you take care of the orphan. The messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, called as-sa'i alal armala wal miskin kalimujahid fi sabilillah. The one who takes care of the widow and the needy is like the one who is fighting in the path of Allah. Anyway, the point I want to make here is that taking care of orphan in Islam is beyond just sending 500 naira, 5,000 or whatever to him, but rather take care of the orphan the way you are taking care of your children. Number 2, this orphan that Islam is calling you to are your close relative orphan first. Don't say you want to create an orphanage. The first thing is your own close ones. After you might have taken care of them, then you can now extend this hand to some other orphans who do not have such people that can take care of them. This is the point we are making. May Almighty Allah guide us aright. May He continue to make it easy for us to stay on His right path and not to deviate from it. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ramadan Mubarak.